I'm really excited that this next group's in the studio. And when I was doing research on them, I came across this really, really fascinating statistic. It's about the Mercury Prize. So if you're listening to this in Canada, the Mercury Prize is kind of like the Polaris Prize here in Canada, but it's for the UK and Ireland. And it's been won by, pretty amazing artists, Pulp and PJ Harvey and Arctic Monkeys and Franz Ferdinand, a lot of guests you might know. But in 2018, the folks I'm with won it as well. But that's actually not the stat that I'm talking about. The members of the band Wolf Alice are the first act ever in the history of the Mercury Prize to have their first, their second, their third, and now their fourth album all nominated. No one else has had their first 4 albums up for the biggest music award in their home country. It is very well deserved. If you need your memory jogged, you might have first encountered Wolf Alice with this one.
She's overachieving, chasing her dreams and coming down slowly. It's out of control.
Moaning Lisa Smile from Wolf Alice's EP Creature Songs, a song that also landed them their first Grammy nomination. Now they've gone from clubs to arenas. They're touring the world. And their brand new album, The Clearing, is just an excellent record, and I really loved every minute I've spent with it. Just take a listen to this.
I'll be fine, I'll be okay. I feel kinda lucky right now, and I'm not ashamed to say I can be happy, I can be sad, I can be a bitch when I am mad. I wanna settle down, wanna fall in love, and sometimes I just want to fuck. I love my life, I love my life. Sometimes I just...
That's a little bit of the soap off Wolf Alice's brand new record, The Clearing. I'm so happy to say that Ellie and Theo from the band join me here in the studio to talk about it. How are you?
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
How are you with the 4 times? I mean, I'm sure it's not the most comfortable thing to hear about yourselves, but it is very cool that you were nominated for the Mercury Prize for your first 4 records.
Yeah, it is very cool. I think the Mercury Prize always champions great music and, it's often quite music that goes under the radar a little bit, and you never know quite what to expect to be on the list of the Mercury Music Prize, so it's very flattering to be involved in it.
3 months recording this record in Los Angeles, is that right?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that decision. Talk to me about going to LA. Talk to me about what was on your mind in that.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of over-prepare when we go to the studio. We'd been, we've written individually at home, and then we'd gone through the songs all together in a little room, and then we'd gone, we made endless demos, and we'd rehearsed it and stuff. Like we over-prepare when we go to the studio. So we kind of had an idea of exactly what we wanted, which is good, but also can also be hard because then But we worked with Greg Kurstin, and yeah, you tell him what you envision, and he can kind of do it, and so it was extremely pleasant experience.
I mean, let me just say who Greg Kurstin is for people who don't know. I mean, worked with some and co-written some of the biggest songs and records of our time. Foo Fighters, Paul McCartney, Tegan and Sarah here in Canada, Kelly Clarkson, Sia, Adele, and on and on this brand new record as well. Why was Greg the one you wanted to work with on this record?
Greg has an amazing ability, which is actually testament to his personality and also his skill set, that he helps facilitate an artist make the record that they want to make then. And some people can put themselves in front of that, but I think it's an incredible skill set. That's really an amazing production to me, to be like, if you're like, you come to someone and you say, this is what we're aiming for, and he just goes, let me help facilitate that. And on top of that, when you watch that guy play the piano, it's his perfect form of communication. And when I heard, he's just such a good player, I said that in a very confusing way. He's just incredible. When he's with an instrument in his hands, that's when he's the best communicator. And that was a joyful thing, because when I've heard, and we were sharing a lot of the demos, Els had the piano as a spine of the record, and that more so than I think it ever had been. So that transpired to be an incredible asset in the studio. Just Greg being able to kind of like work with us on those songs, and he's also just a fantastic producer, and he's a nice geezer, which helps massively when you're in a studio.
Let's listen to a little bit of one of the tracks on the record.
I'm just my heavy thought, the way that you
That's a little Just Two Girls from Wolf Alice's brand new album, Declaring. Tell me a little bit about that song.
Yeah, that song, it was the last song that was brought to the table, and we did on Wolf Alice fashion, kind of made it. We didn't have any demo of it or anything. We made it in the studio with Greg. I'd been chipping away at this top line in my head, really. I had a couple of voice notes maybe on my phone. And it was like very lyrically driven song, and I think it was a really fun experiment to, that was our only reference as to what it should sound like, is the lyrical content, which is, about, it's very cheerful, and it's like at once, I think, it's like about something important to me, but it's also, it's fun and it's silly, and I felt like we kind of just mirrored the lyrics of the music, which is something we've never really done before. So it was a really fun experience, actually.
Ellie literally sat at a piano and just started kind of singing the top line, and then it was like one of them. Rarely do you have those actual studio moments, and then like Greg pops his head around, he's like, "What's that?" And then suddenly this song it was like 24 hours later, we were close to what you heard. It was really cool.
I mean, it's kind of how it's supposed to happen, really.
Yeah, I think that song, that process for me was so interesting because, like Ellie was just talking about how over prepared we've been. It's quite an exciting prospect of maybe working, like the idea of like we usually are like we're ready, which is probably because the red light's on and shit's expensive.
Yeah,
you don't want to. It's no joke for people to try to get into studios, and that was kind of our mantra a little bit. But that was so exciting because that was, not only was it a great song that we were listening to by the end of it. Well, I think so, but I'm biased. The process was new. For a new process, like if you've done it for a long time, that's so exciting.
That's so funny that would be a new process, because I would think that that's the starting process, right? Is to like get in and just carve it out and work on it and carve it out and carve it out,
Yeah, and I suppose you're bouncing on the waves of excitement because everything's new. So and I think we're scared of that because we're like, it might not be good because it's new. But
did you see that? Did you see that? Get Back Beatles thing, the movie where you're like, I remember I watched, so I think it was maybe pandemic and we shouldn't have been doing this, but like there was like my friend of mine rented out a movie theater, like,
wow, great.
And it was pretty cool. And like about 30 of us went into this movie theater and we watched it, we didn't know much about it. But everyone I was with was in a band. Like everyone I was with, played in bands and toured and and had made their livings that way. And I don't know if you remember that moment where he kind of writes Get Back. He's just kind of carving away on the bass, and you're like, he's trying to work something out.
He's teasing it.
Yeah, he's kind of going,
so cool.
I found that really inspiring, because like you always just think that you don't know how to write a good song, and everyone else does, and you need to learn it, and actually, and you're like, or that like it's like a musician will be sitting in a studio and they'll be like, it's going to be this, I can feel it coming, and then a fully formed song will come out.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
It's just, we all do it the same way, just chipping away at something that's like half baked, and then eventually it will evolve. And it's like when you see one of the greats just being silly in a studio with their mates and noodling about, and you're like, oh, there probably isn't any formula actually. I just need to get in. Just go and do it.
Well, my buddy came up to me afterwards and he said, "Oh, they were a band. I never put it together that they were a band.
So true.
They're just a band. They're a band.
Yeah, like even their little bickering and stuff was like we was like recognised that as our own experience. And I'm like, oh, we're all the same.
And all the in jokes, the crap, the in jokes that don't land anywhere else except for within the four of you or whatever. It's so sweet and. Well, you can't say relatable because it's the Beatles, because they're like superheroes.
Sure, but relatable because I think on the record, like what they didn't have to do was go in, and no disrespect to anyone who does this, but like they didn't have to go in 2 days of studio time, plug into Pro Tools and try to make it happen the best they could.
Yeah.
They had a lot of room to make it happen.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys had that too, which is a lovely thing,
Oh yeah, like the space to work is privileged, especially in like London or somewhere, like if you live in the city or something, it's hard to find a space that you can make noise in or that you can afford, and on top of everything else you got to afford. So yes, privilege,
freeing and all that. Yeah. How was the Harry Styles tour? And what I want to know about it is, I read this interesting thing when I was reading about you, that you sort of went on that tour. One of you said this, it might not have been one of you two, or a member of the band U2, that when you were on tour, opening for Harry Styles, there was this feeling that came over you, even though we talked about ambition earlier and it's one foot in front of another, that you started to go like, oh, well, maybe we could do this. Oh, maybe this sort of like stadium arena-y stuff is possible for us.
That is like crazy, right? Like just the energy exchange between the stage and the crowd. There's so many people there, and you've got to get so far back. Like to see performers move a group of people like that, or to see how it's done with that much regularity, was amazing. And I think it was probably, we felt like we could do it partially because of what Harry has created in terms of that world. That whole thing, his fan culture, the way that the fans are at the shows is like a cultural phenomenon.
Very accepting.
It's amazing. And they're so open to supporting the artist that's in front of them, and they're curious and they want to know about it. It feels really welcoming to play at. So we had a really great, that was the longest run of shows I think we've done of that size ever in our career, and for it to be with that artist who's got that environment, it was just a wonderful experience.
So do you start going like, all right, well, maybe we should start scaling up a little bit here. Maybe we should start.
We are doing an arena tour at the
That's
end of
what
the
I
year.
mean,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering like, is doing that tour, inspiration for that? Is it going like, oh my God, well, maybe this is possible?
Yeah, to an extent, I think every support tour we've ever done has been, there are bits and that you digest, and these things that happen that are going to make up what that show will be for us at the end of the year. Like every time, the 1975, Queens of the Stone Age, Harry Styles, Alt J, we've played with like lots of just different performers who put on very different shows. We've been lucky to have a lot of experiences, and I think we've always learned something from a support tour. They're quite interesting things. But yeah, that Harry one, honestly, just go just to see what it's like. It's great.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
So and playing it was pretty good. Playing it was all right.
Really fun.
How was singing? Like, how was being the front person with that many people and that sort of crowd?
Yeah, it was definitely a new experience, like playing to that many people and like that many young people as well.
Screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was exciting just because it was like, yeah, we've toured a lot and it felt like I haven't really done anything like this before, which is exciting. And yeah, I think it feeling intimate despite it being so huge was inspiring, and the audience made it easy because they were so lovely. You're only as good as your audience. I kind of believe that.
Yeah, and he has cultivated a lovely environment around that, where like I think I was talking to an artist who did it by herself with like an acoustic guitar opening up that show,
right.
And the crowd was right there for her. And
Who did that?
Maddie Diaz.
Oh, I don't know.
And she ended up being in his band, and she did the opening slot by herself on acoustic guitar.
Wow.
Yeah,
So cool.
Yeah. Before we go, like I want to talk about the artists that aren't necessarily on that Harry Styles level, and the artists who are sort of maybe on the same level that you were at when you first got it going. And I find this really interesting that so it's a portion of ticket sales from the European leg of this tour will be going to the Live Trust, which supports UK grassroots artists, venues, and promoters. Your bandmate Joff appeared before Parliament to talk about rising cost means we could lose working class voices that have defined British music. I'll say like not a uniquely British problem.
Yeah.
It's certainly something we're talking about a lot in Canada. We talk a lot about the closing of venues. We talk a lot about how, what are the barriers to access for young performers in Canada right now? Can people who don't come from money essentially start bands and make a go of it? Theo, I'll start with you here. Like, talk to me a little bit about the decision to make that donation on the tour. Talk to me a little bit about what you guys were noticing and what you wanted to have happen.
Yeah, I think that's a small gesture in terms of what a body of people have come to a decision to think is going to make a bit of a difference at the moment. But there's much more of a way that we can probably go to supporting grassroots venues, which are the places that we cut our teeth, and also are not just cultural institutions, but they're points of community. They are probably the pipeline to creating like economic, to talk really unromantically, like British culture is incredible, British music is amazing, and if you cut those things off or underfund them or let them fall to the wayside, then you're going to lose what becomes some of the greatest cultural exports that we've had over the past God knows how long.
And are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? The barriers be different?
Well, I don't know whether I'm seeing it day to day, but I know it's a societal thing, isn't it? It's so expensive to be alive at the moment, to do things. For everyone is feeling the squeeze, and like, I'm not a working class musician. I'm a middle class musician, and my point of access was made slightly easier by that, probably.
Yeah.
And there is less visibility in terms of not just diversity quotas, but it's the class system. Like, if you only have one voice, you're going to have less good art. I think, you know, the more voices, the more the culture evolves and changes, the more points of view, the more perspectives, and the more beautiful stuff we have. So in terms of the one part, the ticket levy thing, that's just one technique to go in the right direction. But there's a lot that needs to be done at a government level, I think, in the UK. And then also, if people can go down to your local venues and your local pubs and your local things like that, these places are just absolutely the lifeblood of all kind of good stuff, I think.
I think he made a great record, and I think I was talking to someone last week about this, that like I have a real hate for retro sounding music. Like, I really
we were so scared of that.
I have a lot of anger towards like retro sounding music, but I have a great affection for, and forgive me, like timeless sounding music, and I think he really did something great with that on this record. And I think he made a wonderful record.
Thank you.
Thanks for it. And thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.